So creating exceptional real estate experiences for our agents, our customers, and our communities through the passionate delivery of truly remarkable service is our mission. But changing lives is what we do. Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 25. That's right, quarter of a century, 25 of the Distinctive Property Show. Well, we're coming off a pretty big week. We just finished a leadership retreat. Amazing ideas coming out of this deal. I think each and every one of you are going to be super stoked. I know we are, and we have huge plans for 2017. More to come on that one. But one of the things that I want to talk to you about today, a few weeks back, I did a video where we were talking about lead generation, but more response, and I've gotten a boatload of questions about it. So I thought I would spend a little bit more time talking about what sources there are, and then what kind of best practice there is, or resources, if you will, on how to respond to those. All right. So first, most of you have heard me talk about the Core Four. It's a Tom Ferry thing. This is nothing new, right? That we're not reinventing the wheel forever and ever and ever. There really are four general pillars or sources, if you will, that all the different lead generating systems fall under. And they go a little something like this. Open houses, past clients and sphere of influence, online, and farming. So the open houses, I know a lot of you, I have heard, well, first of all, a lot of you that don't really talk about open houses just so everybody knows, they're the ones you have to be careful of, because they're the ones that are crushing open houses, and so they don't typically talk about them, but it's a huge lead generating source. As a matter of fact, if there were a top two of these four, it's open houses and past client sphere of influence. That's where the lion's share of all business comes from. And then online is way down the list, and then third would be farming. So that's their ranking. But when we talk about open houses, we're not talking about general open houses. I just want to make sure everybody's clear. This is not a, hey, gosh, you know what? It's 1 o'clock on a Friday. I think I'm going to do an open house tomorrow morning at 10, and then we just go out at 9:58 and throw out signs, right? I'm talking about mega open houses. They're done right. They're done with purpose. And each open house, there's a 9 or 10 day plan. And so when we talk about being prepared for these things, and you hear me talk a lot about process, this is where I'm talking about a step-by-step. I mean, if I were to hand you my open house process, you would be able to execute it exactly the way I do it, the way I want it done, regardless of whether or not you've ever heard me talk about it before, because I have it written out step by step. And it's 7 days prior to, I do this. 6 days prior to, I do that. 5 days, so on and so forth. The day of, this is what happens. The day after, this is what happens. Follow me? And really the goal is to paint you as the dominant force in a market area. So it's probably more, but at the very least, even with generating listing leads as it is buyer leads. It's a process, and it's on purpose. It is not fly by the seat of your pants. And I think that's really the change that I want to really emphasize on you all when it comes to open houses. It's a mega open house. Okay. Next, of course, is past client sphere of influence, and we know that source, right? Best practice, 33 plus touches. Best practice is I've got somewhere between 20 and 25 that are set it and forget it. This is your IQ office campaigns, right? I'm going to talk to them at least every 90 days. Best practice every 60 days. For most of you, that means I have to touch, on the phone or belly to belly, right? Face-to-face meetings, two-way communication with each person. I think it's about 5. I think is probably about the average right now. So 5 people each day that are in my past clients and sphere of influence. I need to do a couple events a year where I get everybody together. And you know, in today's world, we've got to be doing videos as well. But this is real minimal work. But this is where the money's really made, right? Past clients and sphere of influence. During those phone calls, we're asking for business. Where I see people struggle is they forget to ask for the business, right? So know your scripts. We've got scripts through Tom Ferry. If you don't have them, please reach out to your managing director, your coach, and get them because they're very specific. And if you're challenged with asking for business, this is where that sales thing, you're in a sales position and you got to get a different mindset. You are here to do something amazing for your past clients and sphere of influence. You've already done something amazing for your past clients. Remember that. This is a big deal. They need your help. And if you've been that kind of a person to them, they want to help their friends by making sure that you're there to do the same kind of job that you did for them. All right, so mindset, big piece. Online, we've talked a lot about online, but it's the lowest of all of them. And we're talking about Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com. We're talking about Facebook advertising. We're talking about retargeting. These are the kinds of things. There's all different kinds of lead systems out there, right? All you have to do is Google online lead sources. This is an expensive one, right? And it requires a very specific kind of person. And we're going to talk about the responses on those here in just a minute. But understand, you're not going to go spend a bunch of money and then not respond to them correctly, right? And then, of course, last but not least is farming. And I know when I say farming, everybody goes, oh, direct mail. Yes, part of it, right? Identifying the right area, the right neighborhood to actually do a geographic farm, hugely important, right? You want to farm a place that only has 1% turnover, that's a problem, right? So identifying correctly and then figuring out how we're going to do it. Sending something out one time a quarter, don't do it. You're just throwing money away. The way to do it, best practice, 2-day. By the way, direct mail works if you do it correctly. It's got to have a call to action. It's got to drive somebody someplace. And then you have to do it twice a month, at least twice a month, otherwise it's not worth it, okay? Farming is also expireds, for sale by owners, demographics, second homeowners, first-time homeowners, move-up home. Those are all different types of farming. Knocking on doors, though, just so you know, is also farming. So it's not just about writing a check. You can definitely use sweat equity to get where you need to be, right? So before I get into the response piece, I want to make sure that everybody's super clear. There's no reason to do any of this stuff. There's no reason to do a marketing plan for that matter. There's no reason to put money into anything if you're not going to track. The tracking and the measuring is the whole point. Let's just say for a second, I have $50,000 a year to spend on marketing, all right? And I go out and I'm spending $40,000 a year here and $10,000 a year here, right? And I'm not tracking. What if $200,000 comes from here and $10,000 comes from here? Am I getting a good return on my investment? We talk a lot about that this week at the Leadership Retreat. What do we expect out of the money that we spend on marketing? And here's what we ended up with, right? We want an average of 10 times investment. So that's an ROI of 10x. We will terminate any kind of marketing that we do that doesn't at least hit 4, right? So we're taking an average. Know that some are going to be higher, some are going to be lower. So by tracking, we can identify how many leads are we generating, how many appointments are we getting as a result of those leads, how many contracts are being closed, and how much money you're actually making, so you can determine that. If you don't have a document that allows you to track, you have one through your production report. Again, if you don't have that, I think we call it the SSI. If you don't have that, go to your coach, go to your managing director and ask them for it because we have it for you. It's called the Lead CPL Tracker, right? That gives us the ability to identify where our money is best served. It also highlights maybe potential areas that we can sharpen our skills. So to give you an example, if I'm challenged with converting a lead to an appointment, maybe it's not the lead. Maybe the leads aren't bad, right? Which I hear so often, right? Maybe the leads aren't bad. Maybe our response is bad. Maybe we're not doing the right things, right? Which is where we're going to go right now. But you've got to be able to track and measure. Here are the sources, right? So let's talk about best practice for response. If somebody from your sphere of influence called and left you a message or shot you an email or a text and said, hey, Todd, I have a friend of mine who is interested in selling their home. How fast would you respond? Like in less than 30 seconds, wouldn't you? Like, bam, I'm on it. And then I'm calling, and then I'm sending an email, and I'm following up, and I'm making sure because, hey, this is a past client or friend of mine who said, I know somebody right now ready to buy or sell. Why don't we do the same thing with everything else? Well, you got to have this. By the way, this has got to be all written out. So number one, process, right? Every lead source that generates a lead should have a written out step-by-step process as to how those leads are going to be responded to, how they're going to be converted, how they're going to be nurtured, so that whether it be you or anybody else on your team, everybody's coming and approaching from exactly the same place. Step-by-step process. That's number one, right? Number two, when a lead comes in, whether it be online or anything else for that matter, here's what the stats say. 5 minutes. If you have not responded to the lead in less than 5 minutes, your chances of converting that lead go down more than 80%. Wow, right? More than 80% loss. Well, I don't know about you. I don't care if I'm writing a check or whether or not it's sweat equity. I want the most bang out of my buck or my sweat. So less than 5 minutes, that's number one. The other one is 6 days. So remember a couple weeks ago, I did the video on Jericho, and it was sometimes you just have to shut up and march. This is sort of what I'm talking about, right? So had Jeremiah stopped early, had he stopped at day 5 from marching, he would have never gotten the conversion, right? He'd never gotten the walls to come down. So this is what I'm talking about. The stats say that you've got to at least do 6 days. Here's another one, right? 9 conversations, okay? It takes 9 conversations, not attempts, 9 conversations to actually convert. So less than 5 minutes, you have to respond. You got to be relentless for 6 days. That's multimedia, right? That's twice a day, 6 days, sending a text message, making a phone call, sending a handwritten note, dropping something off of the house, sending a video, all of these pieces, right? Do as many as you can until finally somebody says, okay, hi, hey, you know what, I'm interested, or hey, I'm not interested. Either way, it's fine, right? We're here to find out the answer one way or the other. It's about being relentless. It's about being a warrior. You spent great money or great time creating this lead. Please make sure that you do everything you can to get it, right? Now, I know what some of you people are saying right now. Wait a minute. I get these leads and, I get a lead and all I get is the first name or all I get is the property address or, okay. There are some resources out there for you, but let's be clear. If you get an address of somebody, for example, on your Facebook advertising, right now it's being pushed to your home valuation page, right? A great resource, by the way, that's free as part of your IQ websites is your home valuation page. You should be using the heck out of this. What happens is somebody goes, it says, get your home valuation, they put their address in, they hit submit, and it takes them to a page where it asks for contact information. Well, listen, if they give the contact information, we all know that's a lead, right? That's a no-brainer. But what if they don't? What if all you get is their address? Does that make it bad? No, it doesn't make it bad. It just simply means that they got to a place where they wanted to be anonymous and trying to identify what the value of their home was, and they got to a place where they were called out to not be anonymous, and they said, you know what, I'm not ready yet. They still want the value of their home. There's a reason they want the value of the home. And they went to your website to find out. That's awesome, that is solid, and that's a lead. So what do? Well, You go to the assessor's office, figure out who owns the house at that address. There's a bunch of other resources once you have the name. Sometimes you can just simply get it from Google, right? Sometimes you can just simply get in the car and go knock on the door and drop off a nice little brochure about you and your company to say, hey, listen, if there's anything I can do for you, I've got a great mortgage person in Chase or Megan or whatever, right? Whoever your mortgage person is, that would love to help you from a refi standpoint. Or gosh, if you were just interested in what the value of your home was for whatever reason, or hey, got this one, they may actually be considering selling. There's Intellius, there's Mojo, geographicfarm.com has Fetch, there's RedX, there's so many different resources to doing research on names to get contact information, et cetera. So even if you're in a resort market where knocking on the door might not even work, right, because they may not be there, you have resources available to you that will track down who those people are. Resources, right, to get 5 minutes or less, 6 days of multiple media, and 9 conversations. Folks, here's the one thing, right? Like whether it's sweat or whether it's equity or check, either way, this is a tough business. Just like any other business, it's a tough business. What's great about this business is that it gives us the ability to connect with people. It gives us the ability to do something that's absolutely necessary, and it's the American dream. What you bring to the table is nothing short of amazing for these families. And for every transaction that you do, you are touching the lives of 2 families. Remember that. And it's important, and it's worth every bit of the work. But if you want an easy job, my recommendation is Lifeguard. I think that's a great, easy job, right? As always, I'm here for you.